Well, welcome to the channel. It's Dr. Durst, and I have a special guest with me today. I have Vania with me, and we are just going to talk about her experience with hormones and her journey with hormones, not just with us, but just her personal journey through perimenopause and then menopause. So, Vania, welcome.
Thank you.
We were talking in the office, and
Yeah.
so we will talk nonstop about it, and then finally again, because women want to hear it from you guys, not
Yeah.
from me. So she is awesome about expressing her views, and so that's why she's here. So welcome, and just tell us a little bit about
Like how
your
how the
journey.
journey,
Yeah,
finding your treatment and all of
yeah.
that happened. My symptoms that I was experiencing at the time, at first, I just didn't know what was going on. I was in perimenopause, unbeknownst to me. Weight gain in the middle, brain fog, those are classic, symptoms. My periods, although they were still regular, some were very, very heavy, and my PMS symptoms were getting out of control, meaning like intense cramping, water weight retention. But the worst thing that happened to me, and I, even in researching it, I didn't find anything online that other women had experienced this, but I started to get stomach cramping along with my period cramping. And I was just miserable. Whether I ate, no matter what I ate, how much I ate, not eat, I couldn't mitigate that along with
Mm-hmm.
the other things. But that one was like, something is wrong. That was
Mm-hmm.
like the kind of a red flag for me. So I do what all women do when they go and visit their gynecologist and their general practitioner. My general practitioner heard everything I was going through and said, "Well, it sounds like you're just overwhelmed in your life and maybe you might have a little depression. So I could write you a prescription for, antidepressants, anti-anxiety medication, and I'll throw in a muscle relaxer for your stomach cramping." So I wasn't depressed. Anxious is, everybody experiences life, but I didn't feel like I needed any antidepressants or anti-anxiety medication.
And you've never
But
come
I
across as even slightly anxious, and probably never to the physician,
no,
and never
no.
depressed.
But
Yeah. So,
when you're talking to and he was a male physician, and I'm not saying, you know,
hmm
he's highly educated, not a stupid man, intelligent, but it's like a missing piece. These concerns that women have, they just get like thrown off to the side and let me give you what I think will fix it. Men are fixers. So maybe in his mind, that's what, oh, this will make her feel better, and not really thinking out what is causing these
hmm
things. So I said no to the anxiety and depression, but I did start taking the muscle relaxers,
hmm
which would help during the time. But still, I was like, I'm still not feeling outside of even the stomach cramping. That
hmm
was only around period time. But I'm like, why am I just feeling like crap?
hmm
And so that was when I was just desperate. I was searching everywhere. There was no one in this area, no doctor like you in this area at the
hmm
time that I knew of.
hmm
Unbeknownst to me, you were, starting your
right here
practice, and
somewhere. Yeah.
yeah.
Hidden.
And
Yeah.
thank goodness you knew
hmm
Sherry and I knew Sherry. And we were at a friend's, Sherry and I went to a bachelorette party. And I was sitting in the audience and everybody was on stage dancing and everything with the, group. It's a party. And so I'm looking at Sherry and she's got amazing legs. She had
hmm
this little white dress
Muscular
on
as can
and
be.
she's
Yeah.
younger than me, but not a huge age
Yeah.
gap. So I'm looking at her and I'm like, she looks amazing. What is she doing? So I went up to her and I'm not an emotional person, but I had a meltdown. I started crying and I'm like grabbing her and I'm like, Sherry, you look so good. I need some help. Who do you know? I knew she was in the health care field, or had training in that. So I'm like, who might she know? Because I was absolutely miserable. I'm like, do you know anyone? I am miserable. I need help. Like, you look great. I just need to find some way to address the issues. So then she told me about you. She promised me that night. I promise I've got someone I'll refer you to. And I'm like, don't forget, because this is important. And she did, and I met with you, and it was like I was talking to someone who finally got it. Like nothing that I told you, you were like, you were like, oh, okay, yeah, oh, okay. Like you already probably figured that there were going to be some abnormalities on my labs.
Yeah.
And when we got my labs back, found out I was estrogen dominant. Oh, the other outside of the stomach cramping and very, very sensitive breasts. And they would even like get swollen almost. And I was like, don't breathe, don't come near me.
And irregular periods and
Yes,
heavy
and heavy
periods and yeah,
periods. And so
and
then,
emotional.
yes, yes. And so once we got my labs back and you explained everything to me, I was like, oh, this makes sense. And once I started what I needed at the time, this is in Perry, was you got me on some testosterone cream, I think, initially. And then we did some progesterone, immediate, and some supplements, some vitamin D, some of the other, can't remember them all now.
DHEA usually,
Yeah.
multivitamin.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And started that treatment and immediately felt better. I mean, once it got into my system, I was like, I could see like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I'm not going to feel that way anymore.
did your cramping go away?
Yeah,
Yeah. And that's
yeah,
not a very usual, like outside of uterine cramps, it's like
yeah,
periods. You did have something that we don't hear all the time.
yeah, yeah,
And so, but yeah, and it did resolve.
yeah. It did.
Yeah.
And yeah, then well, how long have I been
It's like
seeing?
5 years.
5 years?
Maybe no, actually
I think it
longer.
was
Yeah,
longer.
longer. It has been longer.
Yeah.
Yes. Because we've been at the current location for 5.
Yeah.
And yes, and this was the original.
The original one, way out
Yes.
west.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been so perimenopause, which had you even heard of perimenopause?
No.
And
And that was the other kind of roadblock, was like Googling or trying to find answers. Like I didn't know to use perimenopause. I was ignorant. I didn't know. I thought, oh, the troubles only start when you start to have hot flashes, which is ironic. I never had hot flashes. Maybe because I was
peri.
and high estrogen, because usually people in menopause, right?
Well, and some women will go with a hot flash and they think it's estrogen, but it's still perimenopause.
Okay.
So not every hot flash
So
is
see, even
estrogen.
even
Yeah.
that.
It can be
I didn't know
progesterone
that.
and have night sweats and hot flashes. So not every hot flash equals estrogen. It definitely can cause hot flashes,
Yeah.
but it can be progesterone too. And so were you sleeping okay?
For the most part,
that
but
wasn't
not as deeply as I do now.
Yeah,
I mean, now when I hit the hay, I'm out.
Yeah.
Whereas before, the transition from laying down, shutting lights off to actual sleep was longer.
And I think that your experience, even with test, as we talk about it, is unique because you've been through every form
Yeah.
because we've been together for so
Yeah.
long. I only did creams
Yeah.
initially, and then we implemented pellets and
Yeah.
injections. And so just talk a little bit about, again, it's custom
would love
to what
to.
women want.
I would
And
love to,
so,
because again, in my searching, there's not a lot of information. Let's say you're in a group on Facebook or whatever, and you know about my fitness journey now, and only because you got me all squared away
well, she's
hormonally.
doing amazing. She's inspiring, although I don't think that I would ever get to that. But just in wanting to build more, because now
Yeah.
she's
I've got more
competing. She's working
energy.
up to compete.
Yeah, got more
And
energy. I'm feeling good. I don't have the mind fog, the bloat, all of that. But what's interesting, so we started off Perry with the estrogen cream, and then
Well, Perry with the test cream.
oh, I'm sorry, with
Testosterone,
the
Yeah.
test cream. Sorry, thank you. And then you started doing pellets, and I thought, let's do the pellets because that would be easier than doing the cream every day. And that worked really well for a few years until I started working out to not an extreme, but more so
An
than
extreme for me, but not an extreme.
so
So she's amazing. She is building, she's competing, she's getting ready. So, yes.
fighting
So,
that age battle.
yeah. No, well, she looks amazing.
Thank you.
Yes.
But the pellets worked great, and you can chime in, but I feel like typically women will get 3 or 4 months out of them.
Yeah.
When the increase of workouts started, where I was, 5 days a week, hour and a half a time, I was just, my metabolism was raised so
Correct.
much. I was just metabolizing them too quickly.
Yes.
So I would start to feel my drop off, my dip towards the end. Well, what it used to be towards the end of that third month, and I started to feel it earlier. And then we talked, and for my particular situation, we went to the test injections twice a week, and that really helped, because then my levels, I knew exactly what my levels were throughout the week, because pellets, your body is,
It's releasing them as you're more
yeah,
active and less release when you're not. And
yeah,
so, and you were just and your
yeah,
activity level had significantly increased
yeah.
for you.
So,
Yeah.
but again, you
She's
guided
always been
me.
active, but she was just, again, not an extreme workout just for me.
I mean, I'm not
No,
an, when I what I
no,
think of
no.
extreme is like an ultra marathon,
Yeah,
or
no,
like
no.
these. I don't do
She's
that.
just working very
Just,
hard. Just
yeah.
working hard. Yes.
But so we made that little change for me, and made all the difference. I didn't have the drop off so severely. Still manageable, because I would come in and tell you, and we, do the stuff and get my pellets again. Everything else though stayed the same. Just the mode of the testosterone delivery for me at this time
Yes.
was better. But I will say the pellets, I was very happy with the pellets, really, until my activity level increased to the
Yeah.
point where it was hard to manage, like when,
Yes.
keep the hormones steady.
Yeah. And I think that's a very good, unique experience that, because I haven't done creams in a long time. We probably have, and again, it's customized to what the woman wants within reason, like
Yeah.
what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
But creams just usually don't work very well because it's not going to absorb very well through the system, and you don't get a steady state. You get more in the way of side effects. But
Yeah.
early on, that's all I was doing.
Yeah.
So you got the creams, then we switched to pellets. But I think even knowing that injectables are a possibility,
Yeah.
if that works better for a woman, just kind of gives everyone the fact that there's options there.
Right.
And you can
Right.
use them. And so, and you've done really well with all of
Yeah.
them. I would agree.
Yeah.
Like, I just think that the creams were really hard to adjust. You're always
Yes.
adjusting
Yes.
something, right?
Yes.
And then, so perimenopause, I think now it's more known because
I
it's,
tell everyone
yeah,
that
yeah.
I know around my age, or getting close to my age, because Perry, I did not know, and you might want to chime in here. So I think I was 46, 46, 48, something. I think 46 when it started. But some women experience that earlier, and I'll be honest, if I had symptoms earlier, I would have just dismissed them. I'm not realizing that it could be a hormonal issue.
Correct. Well, not until you really felt bad, were
Bad,
you
right.
then seeking some kind of answer for it.
Right.
And so, well, Perry, I always say between 40 and 55 because it's a wide range.
Yeah.
Your perimenopause is usually about 10 years, and the average age of menopause is 51, maybe 52, depending on what you're looking at.
Yeah.
But in that perimenopause, which is usually a decade beforehand, your progesterone and tests will drop. Your estrogen looks dominant because it's not being balanced by progesterone and testosterone,
Yeah.
which is why you're estrogen dominant. So that emotion, irregular bleeding, and
Yeah.
the women that don't have irregular bleeding are lucky
Yeah.
because most
Yeah.
women can have ablations and hysterectomies during perimenopause. If
I have sister-in-laws that have gone through that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's because of excessive bleeding that we could
Yeah.
balance
One
with
a
progesterone.
hysterectomy, just because she was tired of dealing with it.
Yes. Yeah.
And probably didn't know that there was any other alternative, because if you don't really advocate for your own health care, you're left to just do what the guy in the white coat tells you you need to do.
Yeah, and
So, and I mean,
literally,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, is that the best for everyone? I know.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be the right choice for one person, but it's not a one size fits all, I guess is what I'm saying.
Correct. And I think that's the key is like, and they'll also now, even though people are more educated, women are more educated on it, there's also a scare tactic here and there.
Yeah.
And even though there's more data coming out to, you know, talk about how the WHI was not, as
But
straightforward as it
it's
seemed.
even difficult to even ask those sorts of questions to your typical like
The
GP
traditional
or
doctors, yeah.
gynecologist. They literally look at you like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. No, yeah. Yeah. No, I
And
agree. And
so you're kind of, then you're like, okay, now what, you know?
I always say I really do appreciate those traditional doctors, whether it's a gynecologist or a primary, that don't scare women and instead just refer on though.
Yeah.
So like if you don't know about it, and I think now you're right, locally there's been a lot more
Yeah.
of a
So
medical referral
yeah,
for sure.
now I feel like it's more acceptable because I can tell my general practitioner, my gynecologist, that I see you for bioidentical hormone therapy, and they're like, great.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
know or had knowledge, but I don't think it's really, for lack of a better way to say it, their curriculum, what they're taught in med school.
Oh
It
yeah,
doesn't,
no.
it's not, that's probably a very small part, if any.
I don't think there's any. I
Yeah.
don't know that it's changed much. And it's recently I had done a search about sexual health and
Oh,
sexual
yeah.
function in medicine. And still, I think there was like a 5% of institutions actually had any curriculum on it.
Yeah.
But as far as perimenopause and menopause, for the most part, the physicians my age or anywhere around it within decades, if not, like really were taught nothing on perimenopause and
Yeah.
menopause.
Because they
Nothing.
really, I don't think that they were trying to do me a disservice. I just think they
Yeah.
really did not know.
Yeah. No, they didn't know.
Well, you mentioned sexual wellness. So I'm going to chime in on that.
Yeah.
So I never really thought I had a problem and everything was fine. You know, I've been married 36 years, everything's going good. But when I started my treatment with you, I had so many positive effects. Not only the brain fog went away, energy went up. I actually started to think about it myself outside of, and initiating. And also, is it appropriate to talk about?
Anything you want. It's appropriate to talk about anything
So, I
you
mean,
want to talk about.
once, as a woman, like once you get your hormones optimized, not just fixed, but like where you feel really good, able to have an orgasm much quicker,
Yeah.
much more intense. I'm having the best orgasms of my life. And
I
you would
love it.
never,
Love it. Yeah.
I didn't think that was in the cards for me as I'm aging. And of course, my husband's thrilled. But then again, he can go to his general practitioner and he gets his stuff taken care of immediately.
Right.
Whereas women, like, we have to feel absolutely horrible
Correct.
and not advocate for
And
our well-being
beg,
and our
and
sexual
yeah.
health. Like, I
Yeah.
didn't even know, could it be better? I had no idea.
Correct. Oh, I love what you're saying because it's interesting. Again, I'm getting back to this book. I was in the process of reading it, but Great Sex Starts at 50. I do think it's a great title. It's really not what the book is about because the first few chapters are really talking about decreased orgasmic strength and how vaginal
Yeah.
lubricants are necessary, and it's not even an option if you don't have it, don't have sex because of dryness. All of that I disagree with. Would
I
you agree?
Yes.
Okay.
And can I chime in here on
Yeah,
that?
absolutely.
So once I hit menopause and we had to make some adjustments
Mm-hmm.
with my hormones,
Mm-hmm.
but you were on it, you're looking at it and you're like, estrogen's starting to dip, which hadn't happened previously, but now was actually
Mm-hmm.
in menopause. And you upped my, actually started doing the estrogen
Mm-hmm.
cream, I believe. And
Yes.
then we Then we did an estrogen pellet, and now I'm back on the estrogen cream. I think I do a little bit more now though, so 4 clicks. Anyway,
Yeah. Just
but you,
based on those levels.
yeah,
Yeah.
you keep an eye on my levels and make adjustments. And I know a lot of friends my age that have to use lube. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that.
No,
If it makes it more enjoyable, great. But it sure is nice. I
to
don't,
not need
it was
it. Yeah.
never, yeah.
Yeah.
And it never became an issue even when my estrogen dropped because you were on it and you were like, well, I think you might need to, even if you don't think you do, it's going to come at you. You might want to start.
Yeah.
And you were so right. You
Yeah.
were so right.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's when the hot flashes can happen for women, but if you just really make that, and so that's why that study way back that actually scared women off of it and physicians from using it, and again, 2002, so we're greater than 20 years out, was again that whole, if you get them right as they transition, like if
Yeah.
a woman, right as she transitions from perimenopause to menopause, then your disease prevention, your prevention
I,
of side effects. In other
yeah,
countries, they
I
do
could,
that.
that's
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Thank God I found you when I did because you guided me through that. I've never had a hot flash. I haven't gone through some of the more devastating effects physically in menopause that a lot of my friends are, like, bone aches and like all of this other sort of stuff. And
Yeah.
I think it's, yeah. So
Yeah.
I would say, obviously hormone therapy, but being consistent with it as
Oh
well.
yeah, no. And she is very regimented in what she does, and that we love. That's what we want. But we do sit down with women. We want to guide. We want you to understand
Yeah.
your labs. Every 3 months we're doing them. We're sitting down, we're adjusting if we need to. And honestly, when women are so in tune to their body and what they're doing, the adjustments don't happen that often,
No.
because if you're feeling something, like you're very regimented in how you're doing it. And I will say, like, even skin, like your whole skin, the glow, like everything. And just think about what you've actually said and told us, from being on a dance floor with a friend,
Crying.
to your phone crying because please
Yeah,
help, I
because
feel like crap.
I'm
Yes.
looking at others enjoying their life and I'm miserable and I don't know what to do.
And now she is actually competing in
Yeah.
building for a bodybuilding competition and
Yeah.
competing. So
Yeah.
from one
I
extreme to, like, and not an extreme. That's not an extreme to do that. I just think that it's unusual for it's a outlier. You're an exception, and a great exception at that, for doing that for the first time
yeah,
after definitely perimenopause, but actually I
because
think it was after menopause even. So like
you
in
feel
building
good.
like your
Yeah.
muscles, amazing.
Yeah. I've never felt this good. I've never had the energy. And especially as you get a little bit older in your life, when your kids are grown, not all the time, but you have a little bit more freedom in your schedule. But if you don't address those hormonal issues, you're just going to be sad and just want to go home and,
Yeah, yeah.
watch, mindless TV
Eat
and eat. And, yeah.
pizza,
But
sit on the couch, go
but
to
when you
sleep.
feel
Yeah.
good,
Yeah.
like you were when you were younger, when you would get home from work and pick up and go and do something, or get up and go on a hike, or be active.
Yeah.
These things are second nature now because I'm not destroyed by the day.
Yeah. And listen, she owns a business. And so a successful business owner that is like balancing beyond belief.
It is
It's a
a
balance.
a juggling match, but but I have the energy to do it,
Yes.
so why
No.
not?
Yeah.
You know.
No, you look amazing.
Thank you.
And I've loved being a part of it for the entire journey. And you're probably right. It's probably closer to 7 years
Yeah,
now. Honestly, time just flies,
I know.
right?
I know.
That's my issue, is it
I know.
seems like it's going too fast now. And maybe
I
that's
agree.
part of that is the business owner type of thing
Yeah,
too.
we're
But
we're
yeah,
pulled in so many
yeah,
directions and we're busy. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing as long as you're not stressing yourself out.
yes, correct.
But if you can have balance in that, it's rewarding. You have a purpose for
Yeah.
your day.
Yeah, no, correct. It's awesome. And then I think one other thing that we talked about, which is kind of not probably unique, because I think perimenopause and menopause is just something that's hit social media with a vengeance. The sexual wellness is the part that we're, picking up on, because I
Where
mean,
people,
we
women are
need to,
searching for answers
yes,
and they're not readily available,
correct.
especially from women who have been there, done that. You
Correct.
know,
Yeah.
like this has been my experience. This is not an unusual, that this is a woman's experience, and we need to kind of
Yeah.
help each other get the information out that you
Correct.
don't
Yeah.
have to be.
Yeah, and you can have a high sex drive. You can have better
Yeah,
orgasmic strength. You don't have to have vaginal dryness.
right.
You can lift. You can have endurance. You can have brain clarity. All the things.
Yeah,
And if you're not getting the answers, then you need to advocate for yourself
yeah.
for sure. But there is more information out there. But she's a trainer that also, and he will, we'll just give him a little shout out, meaning that he is hearing about it for the first time too,
Yes,
and has women clients.
yes,
And in perimenopause and menopause, we're
yes.
going to trainers to try and build muscle, but you can't really build
And
muscle
he's
very well if you're
asking me
not
questions
optimized. Yes.
about like, tell me about the doctor that you see, and you're on bioidentical hormones. Tell me about your experience, because I've got another client that's struggling in this area. What's your doctor's name? And so I feel like now it's kind of like a little hidden pamphlet of information. Oh, you don't know? Hang on, let me give it to you. So this is great, like to just get
Yeah.
the information out there so that women who are, whether they hit a wall, on the emotional side, physical side, hormonal, a lot of it can be helped by getting your hormones.
Yeah,
Go think,
yeah,
go
yeah,
figure.
yeah. No, it's
Yeah, it's
hormonal,
really,
and you don't even think about it early on. Now
no.
that at least I think people are thinking about it, but just look for solutions in your area because they exist. And then I think the sexual wellness stuff for women is like a
I
huge.
think that's
We're making lots of headway
it's
there. So,
underrepresented in my
hmm,
opinion on a positive side, because so many women, their fear of taking any kinds of hormones, they don't
hmm,
understand the difference between something that is a chemical
synthetic and yeah,
synthetic
made and
versus a true bioidentical, so our bodies know what to do
yes,
with these
yeah,
hormones and implement them. That on the other side of that, your sexual wellness is going to improve tremendously. Much, I wasn't
yeah,
even expecting it.
yeah, yeah.
I
That
just
wasn't your
wanted,
concern. You had other
no,
things. Yeah.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
not feel yuck
Yeah.
anymore. But what a great
And
side effect. And I think more women need to know about it. Maybe they need to seek it out for that,
yeah.
because I have friends in my age bracket that are like, I don't even care if I have sex anymore. I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah.
You shouldn't
Well,
feel
you know
that
what's going on
way.
now.
Yeah, I
But
do. I
but well, and
do.
that's like that's yeah, something they need to know that they can fix, but it's interesting. So I will say two things is that number one, a lot of husbands, and I know Greg too, so it's that I will joke with the wife and the husband and say, well, you may need to come see me too when I get her fixed because you're going to need to keep up.
Accurate.
And fortunately, he has a doctor
Yes,
that takes care of him.
yes,
So
yes,
he hasn't had to, but
yes.
a lot of them do end up
But man,
then needing to
okay,
come to keep up.
you're absolutely right. And so then as a couple ages, let's say, and you're married for a long time, a man can very easily go to his doc and say, "Hey,
Yeah.
doc, having some issues here. No worries,
Yes.
mate."
Yeah.
And they're good. But if you're not on the same page, so if your man has optimized his
Yes. Yeah.
hormones, testosterone, and getting his little pills and whatever he needs, and then he's feeling great, hey, let's have some fun, and you're like, I don't really care.
Yeah.
Well, that's a problem,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
You
know?
need to be matched.
Yeah.
You were
So,
matched when you came
and
together. Yeah.
then and then
Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing,
Yes, it
you
is.
know?
And it never has to change.
No,
It does not.
Greg actually asked me, this was probably, I don't know, I wasn't quite menopausal yet, but I had been seeing you for a long time with the peri stuff. And he was like, I gotta ask you, do you ever need to stop this? Because this is freaking great. And I'm like, no.
No, no. Well, that is one of the other myths that's out there when we do read it, because a lot of traditional docs, even though people are learning about it
Uh-huh.
and putting more stuff out, it'll say use the lowest dose possible for the shortest amount of time. again, it's bioidentical. For me, the goal treatment is death do us part, unless if we have a breast cancer, that develops and you're
Yeah.
doing monitor on a regular basis. Like there are reasons, but actually testosterone in women is breast protective and decreased incidence of breast cancer with
Yes, ma'am.
testosterone. Yes.
Yeah.
And that is study proven.
Yes.
And so that data is
A
not
lot
out
of,
there as much
I
as
was
it
going to
should
say, a
be.
lot of misinformation on that.
Lots of
And
misinformation.
if women just hear not understanding whether a hormone is bioidentical or not, absolutely can contribute to their susceptibility
Correct.
as well.
Yeah, there's lots of factors. Like in 2002, when we shut down hormones for women, breast cancer incidence did not decrease at all over the next 20 years. So it's multifactorial to say the least. Those were synthetic.
Yep.
We're doing bioidentical. It lowers, there's not like huge studies head to head comparing synthetic or bioidentical, but testosterone does decrease your incidence of breast cancer.
Yep.
And so just being optimized as a woman with testosterone, because they talk a lot about estrogen. They'll talk about
Yes.
progesterone if you have a uterus, but it actually is something you have to optimize even without a uterus. And then not everyone talks about
Yeah.
and testosterone, but I think that that's becoming a little more that you have to optimize it all until death do you part,
Yeah.
because it's preventative for bone, brain, and heart, and look at how good we feel with it.
I know. And I
And
think
so,
actually one of the tests, the blood work that I had done, they didn't even test my testosterone. I think they just tested my
oh yeah,
estrogen.
yeah.
And of course, it was fine because I was estrogen dominant. It was
Yes,
the other,
correct.
the
It
other,
was the other ones
the
that,
other
yeah.
ones that were throwing it off
When it's the first
kilter.
ones that we're checking, because if
Yeah,
somebody's still having a period, even
yeah,
though they're irregular or heavy, we know they're not menopausal
yeah,
because they're still having
yeah,
periods.
yeah,
And so you need to check progesterone and
yeah. But
testosterone.
I
But
didn't know.
yeah, yeah, no,
I'm
correct. Well,
trusting what the doctor's testing for what I needed.
yeah.
I didn't know.
Well, now you're just a walking word of mouth for women
Yeah,
and
I tell
hormones
everyone.
and
I
the
even tell the young
benefits. And
girls, like, listen, you're going to get to a point. It happens to everyone. Don't be afraid.
yeah,
There are solutions out.
yeah,
And of course, if they live around here, I tell them about
yeah,
you.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I mean, I don't
yeah.
thank God you were
I
here
know.
when I needed you.
Yes, I know. Well, and we've gotten to be good friends and know each other over the years. And her husband has not had to come see me to keep up. So that
No.
just means somebody else is optimizing him so he can keep
Well,
up with her.
he can get his
Because, yeah,
testosterone from his
exactly.
GP, you
Yes.
know?
Yeah. But I love that because otherwise,
Yeah.
and it's frequently like being in the ER for, decades and having a lot of male physicians that I work with,
Yeah.
I will frequently get a text saying, I'm sending my wife.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's good.
Yeah.
Great.
Kudos to them.
I may need to see you
Yeah.
soon. And they're
Yeah.
like, that'll be a good problem to have. And
Yes.
so it's, a going joke, but it is that men can get taken care of and women
Yeah.
can't. And so, yeah,
And I think
we
for
need
a lot
to.
of women, I'm not easily intimidated by that. I'm like, I'm going to find a solution. But a lot of women, if they get told, no, you're fine, they think that they are and suffer in silence, not knowing you don't have to feel that way.
Correct.
You
And
know?
9 out of 10 women get told no.
Yes.
And you
I
would
am well aware.
you would believe
Yeah.
that number too,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And they get told no and they don't know why. And so yeah, you don't have to take no for an answer. And that's the education that we went to get out
Yeah.
by just having conversations like this on individual experiences with
I think
hormones.
it's
So
great. I
yeah.
wished I would have found another woman who had gone through it that could tell her experience. And there's honestly not a bad thing that I experienced that I would be like, oh, it was all positive for me.
Yeah.
So, not to say that maybe some women might,
And I think everybody has like different, and it's not for everyone.
yeah,
It just totally depends on the woman, the symptoms, how they respond, how fixed the mindset is. Because
yeah,
sometimes traditional medicine and what's told, they still are a little bit hesitant.
yeah,
But if they educate a little more open to like just the journey and
yeah,
hearing, then it's different. So, but I think everything's figure outable. That's what we have said recently. So like don't just say take no, like you're like, I'm gonna figure this
yeah,
out. It's like what
yeah,
we call an everything is figure outable.
yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
You know
But
that
you
as a
do,
business
yeah.
owner.
Yes,
You have to
yes.
figure it out, right?
You have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, so I'm so glad. Anything you think that you want to say other than that? Like, and again, there's all kinds of behind the scenes things like, for lipid panels and blood pressure and
Oh,
um
yeah.
and diabetic markers that we'll watch and all that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
stuff too, that it's
And you
beneficial
go
with. Yeah.
through that whole panel with me, and I don't really have anything else to add other than I value my care in this regard, because just as you've walked me through peri, right, and transition into menopause, I feel great.
Yeah.
Why,
Yeah. We're not going to transition ever again
No,
into
I
anything
know.
else.
I'm pretty
Nothing
set.
else. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty set.
We're just staying right there. No
Yeah.
more transitions.
Trying to
All
put some
right.
muscle on.
That's
Yeah.
it. That's the transition you're going to have. It's just
Yeah.
a little bit more building.
Yeah.
So, and she said some posing pictures I saw on, and again, amazing. Like, that's not as easy as I thought it would be. Like, and I think you felt the same way I mean, I've never posed, don't get me wrong, but it looks like you would just, when you're prepping for a competition, how hard is that to pose
It
for?
looks so
It
easy. It is
does.
not.
I
It
know.
is not.
And I only know that from you
All these
telling me
little,
that and how hard you've worked with Meredith to get
yeah.
it right, right?
Yeah, so Meredith, like, it's for those of you ladies who are thinking about or have ever had it on your bucket list to compete in, whether it's bikini, figure, whatever, it just, for me, it was just another goal, something to dangle a carrot out there to keep me focused and motivated
Motivated.
on that, because gym time can be a little monotonous at
Yeah.
on certain days. The posing, like all the little internal prompts, like what Meredith tells me, okay, chest up, belly in, butt out, twist, 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 don't show your belly button, put your butt out, like all of these things, like you're doing 20 things in your head in one little pose. And then sometimes you have to time yourself. Okay, only hold it 3 seconds, transition to the next one, 3 seconds, transition. What's your exit? Go flow, move with flow, like all of these sorts of things.
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's
Yeah. Well, the
challenging,
pictures looked
you know.
amazing. Yeah. No,
Something
it makes
something to set my sights on
yeah. Well,
and
you've done a
oh,
great
sorry
job
about
with
that.
that. Like the focus is definitely
Yeah.
not something you've had issues with at all. So love it.
No.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you for coming and
Love you.
talking to Love You Girl. And again, we will talk again in the office more
Of
informally,
course.
like we always do. But I loved the fact that everything she was saying, and we're just a natural conversation, and we're on the phone the last time with the follow up, and I was like, "Do you want to just have this conversation
Heck yeah.
and on camera?" And so,
More of
yeah,
this that is out there that a woman can research and go, oh, okay.
yeah,
There's a 56-year-old woman talking about her journey, and
and
it,
from perimenopause,
yeah,
that was unheard of at the time.
yeah,
Literally, like now, it's on social media into menopause,
yeah.
and even just into a more advanced fitness level than she had been ever in her life. Is
Never
that
thought
fair
I'd
to
be
say?
doing
Yeah,
that in
yeah,
menopause.
yeah,
I'm not
right?
sad about it,
No,
but
no. Well, maybe one day I'll get motivated enough
come
to.
on,
I know.
come to the dark side.
I know. I'll think about it. Well, thank you for coming on. And so,
Anytime.
again, if you guys have any questions and want to share your experience, I would love to hear about it. And share this video with your friends if anyone's going through perimenopause and menopause. And let us know what you want to hear more about, because we are willing to deep dive into anything wellness or sexual wellness. Thank you.